2 Kings chapter 4. In the interest of time, we will read a little bit. Amen. So I don't have to review so much. So we just gonna read a little bit. Read a little bit. It's a story, so you read into it. Amen. Amen. In 2 Samuel, in 2 Kings. 2 Kings. Chapter 4. We're going to start at that 11th verse. 2 Kings chapter 4. Chapter 4. At verse 11, when you found it, say, whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is. All right, it says, and it fell on a day that he had came home, and he turned in the chamber and laid down there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, call this Shunammite woman. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he, Elisha, said unto her, say now to this lady, behold, thou hast been careful for us with this care. You've been looking out for us. What is to be done for thee? Do you want us to speak to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell amongst my own people. And he said, what then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered and said, verily, she has no child, and her husband is old. And he said, call her once again. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, about this season, according to the time of life, you shall embrace a son. And she said to him, no, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie to thy handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, my head, my head. And he said to the lad, carry him to his mother. And he had been taken to his mother, and brought him, and after he had been taken to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then he died. And she went up, laid him on the bed of the man of God, shut the door, and went out. I need your help. Turn to the person next to you real quickly. Oh, y'all being real non-EBC today. Y'all being real quiet. Say good morning first, amen?
Good morning.
Let me say neighbor.
Neighbor.
Nah, say it like you know them. Neighbor.
Neighbor.
It's your season.
It's your season.
Again.
Again.
Turn to somebody across the room. Find somebody across the room. You got to help me speak life into them. You got to help me speak life into them. Say neighbor. I don't know what you're going through, but it's your season again. Now I need you to turn to the most important person in here to you. Turn to yourself. And I need you to begin to encourage yourself. And think about what you've been waiting on. Think about what you've been praying for. Think about what you've been going through. Think about what you've been asking God to show up with. Think about it and say, neighbor, it's your season again. You may be seated. It's your season again. It's your season again. It's your season again. It's your season again. It's your season. See, I'm just saying it over and over and over until you catch it and you believe it. It's your season again. It's your season again. It's your season again. I know you done cried. I know you done prayed. I know you done fasted. I know you done went through it. But let me tell you, it's your season again. Maybe you ain't never had a season before, so that's why you're sitting there like that. But if you've ever had a season where you've reaped the benefits of God, if you've ever had a season where you've seen him move and do miracles in your life, if you've ever had a season when you've seen him bestow blessings on you that you didn't even ask for, if you ever had a season where you've seen him make a way out of no way and show favor when favor had seemed to be absent, let me tell you the good news, it's your season again. Whatever you had before, you about to get it again. Whatever favor you've been living with before, it's about to come again. Whatever blessing you experience, it's about to be there again. It's your season again. It's your season again. See, maybe you'll get it by the end of the sermon. It's your season. Now we're dealing with a woman right here, who the Bible calls a great woman. The story, the narrative on this woman actually begins at verse 8. And when you find it at verse 8, you find that Elisha constantly goes through this city. He constantly passes through this town. And when he passes through, this woman, this Shunammite woman, takes notice on him constantly coming through the city. And she goes to her husband and she says, surely this is a man of God. And me being a great woman, I can do something for him. So she told her husband, let's build a room onto our house so that he could come in and he could lay his head down and he could rest when he comes through the city. Let's build a room right there. And let's allow him to rest when he comes through the city. Why was this so important? And why was this such a big magnitude at the time? Because during this time, if you remember, God would tell his prophets and his disciples over and over constantly that when you go into the city, if they don't accept you into their house, then you are to move on to the next city. So it's so important because as long as they have been accepted, then they are able to do the work there. So by having a room, he was able to stay in that city longer. And here he was able to do the work of God longer. Jesus told his disciples, he said, listen, when you get to the city and you go into that house, if they don't want to hear about it, he said, you walk out, you dust the dust off your feet as a testimony against them, and then you head to the next city and you do not do any more signs or wonders in that place. But this woman has built a room for the man of God to stay in that place. If the man of God is now staying in that place, then that means miracle signs and wonders are now accessible for more folks. The woman is here allowing the man of God a place to stay. She is serving the man of God. We have to get some things, y'all. It ain't always your season to be blessed. Sometimes it's your season to serve. This woman is sitting here and it's her season to serve, not be blessed. And in her season to serve, she is still serving. We have to recognize it ain't always our season to reap from God. Sometimes we have to be working for God. And in the midst of working, sometimes there will be pain with the work. But you still must work. This woman was going through so much pain that we didn't even know about until later on in her story. We find out that she has no child. But for all these years, it didn't stop her from being a great woman. It didn't stop her from serving the needs of the people of God. Sometimes you will be a planter and not a reaper in that season. Sometimes you're going to have to plant. Sometimes you are going to have to input something in someone that will grow without you. Sometimes it is your job to serve and to plant in that season. Understand something, y'all. If you don't ever plant, how will you reap? If you never plant, how will you? If you never serve, how will you reap? If you never pour into someone, how will you reap? If you never put out good, how will you reap? I ain't never seen a farmer stay in his house, not touch his land, and reap during the harvest season.
Right.
Let me tell you something. If you do not plant during the planting season,
Right.
there will be no harvest.
Right. Right.
The woman right here is planting. She is planting. She is serving. She is planting. You have to know that sometimes you have to be the planter. You can't always be the one receiving the increase. Get this. And even when you are broken on the inside, you still must be able to plant. Even when she was struggling with her own things on the inside, she still was serving and planting for God. Here, this woman was called great. She was called great. The Bible calls her great. Now, the Hebrew version of the word that they use is gadol. The Hebrew version of the word that they use to call her great is gadol. Gadol in Hebrew means distinguished. So this woman was very distinguished. She was great. She was set apart. She was held in high esteem. For they honored her all the time. She was a very distinguished woman. And the woman was serving. I know a lot of distinguished people who ain't never served a day in their life. I know a lot of people who are held at high esteem who ain't never did nothing for anybody else but themselves. I know a lot of people who have been called great because of something they've done for themselves. But this woman is being called great. She is being pointed out as being distinguished because of what she does for others. God is leaving an example of what he expects out of us. Even in our pain, he expects us to do for others. Even when it ain't going our way, he expects us to do for others. Even when it is not how we want it, he expects us to do for others. For he was our example. I know he came down here to die. But there was a moment when he got in the garden and he said, hold up.
Why?
If there be any other way, if this can happen any other way, then let that be. But not at my wish, but thy will be done. And when he recognized that his will had to be done, he still chose others above himself. Even when he was hanging on the cross, the thief said, listen, you could get down from here. You can call all them angels to come take you down from here. He said, I'm going to just let you know, I forgive all of them because they don't know what they're doing. He still was choosing everyone else while he was in pain. This woman was still choosing to serve others while she was going through her own stuff. And while she's going through it, we find that she is considered great. And we find that she is considered great because she knows how to do for other people around her. And that has elevated her status. So here she is now doing what she knows how to do. Let's add on the room so that he could come and he can lay his head down and he can rest. While he's resting, she's still working. She's still working. Even when he goes out, she's still working. You know the craziest thing about it? Remember, they just used to pass through these cities. She has now offered him a room so he gets to stay in the room, which means the man of God gets to stay in that city even longer, which means that if he was able to reach one on the first day, most likely he'll be able to reach another one on the second day, all because he was able to stay in that city. Get this. She didn't go out with him when he went out to speak to the people. But he was pouring into people. All because he was staying at her house. He was able to pour into people. All because he had a place to stay. He was able to go day after day after day and pour into more and more folks in that city because she had left him a room in the wall. Get this, y'all. She never not once saw him pour into any of these people. But she was the reason why he was able to pour into them.
All right.
Get this. She was the planter. Because she built that room for him, she was planting. When she planted in him, he was able to go out and he was able to plant in more people. One thing I know, I love strawberries, y'all. I love strawberries. I actually ate some strawberries yesterday. I love strawberries when you put them on that Nation's cheesecake. I love strawberries. Don't act like y'all don't be waiting to see them roll out that sign and put it on the front. As soon as we see it, be group message. Pop out. Nation's got strawberry cheesecake now. We be waiting on strawberry season. Get this though. I've never met a farmer who's planted the seed of the strawberry. But I get to eat it.
Yeah, come on.
The farmer has never seen me eat the strawberry.
Right.
But he's planted it. If he never would have planted it, I would have never been able to receive.
Yes, say it.
But because he planted it somewhere where he at, I was able to reap the benefit of what he planted and he don't even know. This is why you just need to plant everywhere you go. You won't always see the reaping of what you plant, but God still calls you to plant everywhere you go. The woman did not see the people being saved, but because she planted a room up there for the man of God, people were able to receive from her. You need to understand, sometimes you're going to be in a planting season. You're going to be in a planting season where it's time for you to plant to people. You are the planter. You planting seeds. It is your planting season. Here's what I need, and I'm going to talk to the women real quick. Understand something about this woman. Constantly down through history, this woman has been grouped in and categorized with a group that she does not belong to. Every time I see a preacher preach this, every time I was looking this week at one of the commentaries on this narrative, and they said the same thing. They grouped her into the same place. They like to group her with Elizabeth. They like to group her with Sarah. They like to group her with all the women who were barren. But the more I looked at it this week, and I just caught it this week, the Bible ain't said nothing about this woman being barren. As a matter of fact, the Bible actually says, when he said, what can I do for her? The Bible actually says, well, she has no child, and her husband is old.
Come on.
I'm listening, Pastor.
The Bible actually says that the problem was not with her, but the problem was with her husband. But down through history, everyone has categorized her as having the problem. Women, understand something. Do not let the world categorize you in a place that you were never meant to be in. You need to understand who you are. You ain't barren. This just ain't your season to produce. That's it. You ain't broke. This ain't your season to be rich. Is there anybody who understands in the house? This just ain't my season right now. Don't categorize me with the rest of them folks. This just ain't my season right now. This just ain't your season right now. Don't let them categorize you in these areas. It just ain't your season. No, you ain't asking for too much. It just ain't your season to be in a relationship right now. You have to understand that sometimes it just ain't your season.
All right.
It just ain't your season yet. When the woman was standing here, the woman had to see it just wasn't her season. I watched the match yesterday and I was so excited that I caught it. with Naomi Osaka, is that her name? Naomi Osaka, right?
Yeah.
And Coco Gauff. The Naomi, you know, is the she's Japanese and black, and Coco is the young 15-year-old black girl who's killing it. She had to go up. Naomi's ranked #1 in the world, so Coco had to go up against her. Coco then already took down 2 folks who they didn't think she was gonna beat. She made it all the way to Naomi. Get this, Naomi won smoothly, easily, no problem. Naomi won. When Naomi got done, they walked over to their stuff. She comes out on the court, she waves her racket really quickly. The people kind of give her applause. She walks back over to her stuff where Coco is standing. She looks at Coco and she said, would you like to do the interview with me? The after-match interview. Coco said, oh, no, thank you. And she said, are you sure? I think you should. Coco said, no, I'm just going to cry. She said, that's okay. You should do it. And she was like, no. She said, Naomi says, you are amazing. You are amazing. She looked up. She said, look at all these people. They're here to see you. And when she said that, the people applauded louder for Coco in that moment than they had when Naomi had won the match. They went off for her. Watch this. Naomi understood that it might have been her season to win, but it was Coco's season to reap. It was one season to win, and it was the other person's season to reap.
Come on.
Naomi had reaped before, but it wasn't her season to reap. Naomi was in the same exact position a few years ago when she had lost, and everybody was still applauding her. And now she understands that even though I won, it's not my season to reap. It is her season to reap. You gotta understand, sometimes it's not your season to reap. It's your season to plant into somebody who is already reaping. She was already in a reaping season, and here is Naomi still planting inside of her. You gotta understand that you can't always be selfish, and you gotta still be planting in people even when it's their season to reap. The problem is everybody wants their own season to reap. Everybody wanted to be your season. I bet you if I was sitting up here talking about how you gonna get everything you've been waiting for all this time, the whole church be falling out right now. But the whole story been talking about how somebody else is getting off of you. You have to understand, sometimes you need to know that your job may be to plant for a few years before you're able to reap. The husband was old, which meant they had been together for some time. Even though it didn't classify her as old, it let them know the man was old. They had been together and they have not had a child yet. So he said, yeah, tell her to come up here real quick. She came up, she stood at the door, and he says, ask her what I can do for her. Can I speak to the king? Can I speak to the commander of the army? She said, nah, I dwell with my own people. Man, I ain't tripping off all that. I don't care about being seen. I don't care about being noticed or recognized. I stay with my own people.
Come on.
I'm not tripping over the fame. See, sometimes you can't always do stuff for the gram. You can't always do stuff for Facebook and for social media. Sometimes you got to understand that that's just for you and God. In this moment, she understood, I don't need all of that. I don't need all of that at all. And watch this. She really didn't care because she left as soon as she told him she didn't need it. Because after he said, well, what can we do for her? And he said, well, she has no child and her husband is old. And then Elisha says, well, call her back.
Yes.
Call her back, which
Yes.
means she wasn't even tripping. She was gone on about her business. Stop getting hung up on stuff that other people are hung up on. You ain't got to be worried about being famous and popular and rich and all this other stuff. Don't get hung up on that. Just be about your business. Know you dwell amongst your own and you go about your business. Because let me tell you, there are some people in some areas of this world who are not your own. And they don't care about you, and when you go to dwelling with them, you begin to see.
Yes. Yes.
But when you dwell with your own,
Yes.
your own cares about you.
Yes.
So here, he like, call her back up here. She come on back up here. She's standing at the doorway. He said, at this time next year, you're going to have a son. This time next year, you're going to have a son. And she begins to get loud and express herself and said, no, my Lord, don't lie to me. Which shows that she had been trying for some time and that it was a desire of her heart that she had given up on. How do we know she had given up on it? Because she still wasn't believing him.
Yes.
She told him, don't lie to me. Which means, wait a minute, I don't believe that. You cannot get hung up on your problem so much that you forget he is still able to give you the desires of your heart.
Yes, 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 yes.
It was a desire of her heart. And the Bible says that at that time next year, she conceived and she bore a son just like he had told her. As the boy grew up, one day he was in the field with his dad and he cried out, my head, my head. Now the blessing had been given. Her season was there. The son had been there. The promise was there just like he had told her. And he crying out, my head, my head. It's been a few years. He's probably in about his teens by now. So for some 13, 14, 15 years, you allowed me to experience all of this goodness that you promised. And now, the goodness that you promised seems to be in jeopardy. So here she is with her son now in pain. He drops in the middle of the field. The dad says, get him up, carry him to his mother. The crazy part of this, y'all, is the Bible says that the man was out in the fields when it happened. The father and the son were out in the fields when it happened, and they were with the reapers. They were out in the field with the reapers. With the reapers, not the planters.
Yes.
They were out in the field with their reapers, which means that it was their season to bring in the harvest. So while they're bringing in the harvest in this season, the son drops to the ground, goes up with his mother, and he dies in the middle of their reaping season. The problem occurred in the middle of the season that they were reaping what they had planted. Just because you're in the middle of your reaping season, it does not mean you won't have issues. You can still reap and have issues at the same time. You got to understand, just because you are getting blessed does not mean you won't have problems still. It's funny because when we get with God, we think everything's just supposed to be good. But God is saying, understand, there are many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of every one. Just because you are pulling in does not mean that you won't have any bad come your way.
Yes, yes.
We want it to be good when it's good and bad when it's bad, but sometimes it's bad when it's good too.
Yes, yes.
So here they are in the middle of this season while they're reaping and they're losing at the same time. They're reaping and they're losing at the same time. And she says, I'm going to lay him down right here on the man of God's bed. Now, she didn't lay him anywhere. She took him upstairs in the back and laid him on the bed of the man of God in his room. Why? Because he promised me this. And since I'm struggling with it, I'm going to take it back to the one who made the promise.
All right.
You got to know where to go with your problems.
Yes.
You got to know who to take your problems to. You can't just take your problems to your friend. Your friend should not be the first person you call. Facebook should not be the first person who get hit. Your people, your family member. You got to get in your word and pray about some of this stuff first. I guarantee you pray about it first, you won't have to deal with half the stuff that come along with it. Half the time you be dealing with stuff because the person you done told somebody else on the other. So now they feel all awkward when you get around people because they know what you're going through deep down inside. But if you would have took it to Jesus, it would have stayed there because he ain't going to tell nobody yet.
No, he ain't.
But you got to understand, sometimes you got to take your stuff straight up to God.
Yes.
All the time, straight to him.
Yes.
She came down out that room. She said, give me a horse. I'm about to hop on this horse and I'll be back. The husband said, is everything okay? She said, it's well. It's well. She began riding. When she got close to where the man of God was, Elisha saw her on the horse. He recognized her. And he sent Gehazi, he said, go to that woman. That's the Shunammite woman. Go to her and see what she needs. Ask her, is everything okay? So Gehazi hopped on his horse. He ran and he met her. When he got to her, he said, is everything okay? She looked at Gehazi. She said, it's well. And she kept on going.
Yes.
Because everybody can do for you what God can do for you. You see, this shows an intimate relationship when you don't have to take your problems to other people first. It shows the intimacy between you and God. It's well to y'all. God understands me. And when she got to the man of God, the Bible says she fell down at his feet and said, listen, the child you gave me, the promise that I had, I didn't ask you for it. You gave it to me, and now he is dead.
Yes.
She said, but come quickly, because I know what I couldn't do, God can. The Bible says that they got to the house. He went up there to that room. Elisha went up to that room. When he got in the room, he began to kneel down and he began to pray. Then he laid his staff up on that bed with him. And he prayed some more. Then the Bible said he got on top of him. Then he stretched out over him. He said then when he got up, a boy sneezed a few times and sat up. All of this going on behind closed doors. Everybody don't need to know what God is doing in your life when he's working. Some stuff needs to take place behind closed doors. Sometimes his work needs to take place behind closed doors, and all the people need to know is that it's well. I know I'm going through it. I know I look a little rough today, but it is well. I know I didn't do my hair. I just rolled out of bed, but it is well. I know I'm crying and I got tears in my eyes, but it is well. You can't help me with this. It's well. I know I'm sick in my body, but it's well. I know I'm broke, but it is well. I know I'm suffering, but it is well. I know I haven't experienced his goodness yet, but it is well. Sometimes your answer just has to be, it's well.
Hallelujah. I got on slippers, but
It is well. Say it's well. It's well.
It is well.
It's well. Nothing else. It's well. All this is happening behind closed doors.
Yes.
Get this. The daddy don't even know what's going on still.
Guys, because it is well.
Because it is well. The father still doesn't know what's going on because this is taking place behind closed doors. When the boy gets up, Elijah walks and opens the door. The mother greets her child again.
It's her season again. Yes, 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 yes! Yes, it is.
The one that she didn't have and then had and then lost,
All right.
she was able to meet again.
Yeah. Come on.
She looked at him and this is what she said. She said, now I know that your God reigns
Yeah.
and that you are a man of God and the words from your lips are straight from God himself. All that she had to go through when she lost it was so that she would know for sure that God is the only one who could do it in her life. All that she went through was so that she could know for sure that nobody else could have worked it out but God. Can I preach to somebody in the building? And I know you're sitting right here going through something, but let me tell you, it's your season again. You about to be reaping again. You about to have it again. I know you lost it, and I know it hasn't been by your side, but you about to get it again. It's your season again. Whatever you needed is about to come back again. My goddaughter, right up here, y'all know Lady. Here's the thing about Lady, y'all. One thing our family does, we buy these season passes to Six Flags every year. So we had our little season pass, and we go to the park. I would take Lady to the park all the time. Oh, I ain't had nothing to do today. I'm gonna run her out to the park. We're gonna go to Six Flags. We're gonna hang out, see the dolphins and all this stuff. I would take her all the time, right? One thing she didn't understand is that these parks, these theme parks, they work in seasons. And they do have a season when they shut down. Because she had experienced the park so much, she just thought it was always the season to go to the park. So one day she asked me to go. And I said, oh no, baby, we can't go right now. And she said, why not? I said, because it's not the season. And she said, it's not the season? I said, no, it's not the season. I said, you see, those passes when we go, those are called season passes. Now, y'all know, I'm explaining all of this to a 2-year-old at the time. But for Ebenezer to know, I'm explaining all of this to a monoline. So, y'all know there's a difference between a regular 2-year-old and a monoline. So I'm explaining all of this to Mondelez, and she's like, it's oh, okay. So then it was time and the park was open. So this was months later. I grabbed her, I said, oh, we going to the park. We going to the park. Everybody going to the park. She said, oh, we going to see the dolphins? I said, yeah, we going to see the dolphins. She began to get excited. And she started jumping up and down, going crazy. And I was like, what's wrong with you? She said, yeah, oh yeah, it's our season again, it's our season again.
Okay.
Months later, she still remembered that the season was supposed to roll back around and we were supposed to go. So when I told her it was time to go, in her head, that registered as it being her season again. And she began to jump around and get excited. We hadn't even got to the park yet. She just was excited that it was time to go again. She was excited that it was time to experience it again. She was excited that it was time to get to the park again. She was excited because it was her season again. It was her season, maybe. I thought I explained it as clear as possible. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's your season again. Maybe that's the difference. If a 2-year-old could make the connection in her head that she was about to get to experience what she had been waiting on again, and she began to get excited about it even before she experienced it, then surely we can look back over our 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old lives And we can understand that there are some things that we got to experience again. Some stuff that we've been waiting for, some goodness that we want to get, some greatness that we want to get, some miracles that we want to get, some blessings that we want to get. Is there anybody who said, I just want that reaping season again? I want to experience it again. I want to be there again. Can I plant some seeds in this place? It is time for you to see it again. You will be the head and not the tail again. You will be above and not beneath again. You will be a lender and not a borrower again. You will be an overcomer again. You will be more than a conqueror again. All things will work together for the good again. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard again. Is there anybody who understands that you're about to experience your season again? It's my season again. It's my season again. I will see his goodness again. I will see his mercies again. I will see his love again. I will see his greatness again. He will show in my life and bring me out again. He will turn it around again. He will open the door again. Is there anybody who say it's my season again? He's getting ready to do it again. Again. Again.
Thank you, Lord.
Again.
Amen.
He's showing up. The funny thing is we let so much stuff throw us off even on a Sunday. We got phones and the phone's throwing us off. We can't even focus on the singing, on the preaching, on all this other stuff throwing us off. We can't even get deep into worship.
Amen.
What's funny
Tell the truth.
is that but then we go to these other churches
Well.
and all of a sudden we got the Spirit again. He the same Spirit. What make you shout more at 3 o'clock than make you shout at? Come on now. He is the same God. There wasn't more God there at 3 than there was at 11. The thing is, your focus was better. Is it? He's the same God with the same power. Just because T.D. Jakes ain't said it. Again, God will do it again for you. For your life. You know what? I'm so glad God not like us.
Amen.
Because he like, man, you know, I don't know if they gonna praise me again this week.
Well,
I don't know if they even gonna show up this week.
come on, tell the truth.
But God not like, man, I ain't even gotta question him.
Yeah.
When I open my eyes, I recognize that's mercy again.
Yeah. Amen.
When I take a breath, I recognize that's grace again.
Yes.
When I'm living another day,
Yeah.
I see that's goodness again.
Yeah.
See, some of y'all in your season, but you can't experience it because you waiting for this big show.
My Lord, my Lord.
And God is saying, you don't understand. Your life should have been cut short years ago, but you've been living in a season with me.
Man.
God is getting ready to do some things again, and we have to be ready to receive them.
Man.
The reason the woman was able to experience God in the first place was because she was positioned correctly. When you serve, you are just getting in position for God to work wonders in your life. She was just positioning herself. When you have relationship with God, you are just positioning yourself. Somebody here needs to know you out of position. But it's okay. Because even when I was out of position, God was there to straighten it out. But there is nothing that you can do, nothing that you can get right if you don't have Jesus in your life. There is no blessing that you can experience if you don't have Jesus in your life. He'll do it for you again, but he wants to be there. He wants to sup with you. So there's maybe somebody up in here today who don't know him. We invite you to to learn of him. We invite you to grow of him,
Yes.
to learn of his grace,
Yes.
hear of his power, read of his goodness.
Yes.
He'll do it for you again.
Yes, Lord.
He'll do it for you again. You just have to give your life to him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Maybe you're saying that you know him and you love him, but you've been out of relationship with him. We say, come on and we'll hook you back up with relationship.
Amen.
Or maybe you might be saying you know him, you love him, you've been in a relationship, but you don't have a church home. We like to say, look no further. EBC is the place to be. We would love to be your church family. We would love to grow with you. We would love to pray with you. We would love to praise with you. All you have to do is come.
Amen.
Understand that